Hi guys, my name is Himanshu and today we will be discussing about Azure SQL Databases. If you are new to my channel, please press the subscribe button, and if you like my videos, kindly press the like button. To start with, let me share one of my presentation with you. When we talk about Azure SQL Databases, these are all part of Azure SQL. Basically, Azure SQL has three deployment models. One is SQL Databases that we will discuss in today's session. Then we have SQL managed instances and virtual machines. So Azure SQL Databases and Azure SQL managed instances are part of platform as a service. While SQL virtual machines, when we deploy, they already have SQL Server installed on it and they are part of infrastructure as a service. When we talk about SQL managed instances, we use it for migration purpose. And when we talk about Azure SQL Databases, we talk about three things: a single database, Elastic Pool, and database server. We will discuss all these things in our next slides to come. Let me go to my second slide, in which what we are going to do today. I am going to create one database with the name GRM Auto Database underscore Motors in East US region, and in the same region I am going to create a virtual machine as well, and through that virtual machine, which will be in Azure, we will be connecting this platform as a service, this Azure SQL database with this virtual machine. So to start with, let me go to my Azure portal. Alright, so I am already logged in into my Azure portal. Let me quickly create two resource group instead of one. And the second resource group I am creating for failover and replication purpose. So, but here, let me quickly create one of the resource group with the name TC underscore East underscore USA. I will use the subscription pay as you go. And region I will select as East US. Now we will click on review plus create. The validation is passed. Click on create. Let me quickly create another resource group which will be part of pay as you go. And the region I will select is for Central US. Click on review plus create. The validation is passed. Click on create. Alright. Now let's go to SQL databases. Here I will click on create. I will select the resource group as TC underscore East underscore USA. Then I will give name of my database as JRM Auto Database underscore Motors. Now I need to create one server. I will give name of the server as JRM Auto Database Motors -East US server. And it will be in East US location. I will use the authentication method as SQL authentication. Let me give it a name for the user as TC underscore admin, TC admin. And password I will give it from here. This would be the password. Click on OK. Alright, the next thing is it asks for want to use SQL Elastic Pools. So I will select the option no. But what are SQL Elastic Pools? SQL Elastic Pools are basically, this is a pool in which we can have multiple SQL databases. Let's say I have a database which doesn't have a utilization more than 30%. So if I have to create another database, so what I can do is I can club both the database in one pool so that both of them can use the same compute resource. This will save the money. Basically, when we talk about Elastic Pools, we have two models, vCore based model and DTU based model. When we talk about vCore based model, we have dedicated cores and the data size. When we talk about vCore based model, we have general purpose and business critical model, in which we get 2 to 80 cores in general purpose, and we can have a database size up to 512 GB. When we talk about business critical model in Elastic Pools, we can have maximum vCores from 4 to 80, and the maximum data size can be 4 TB. So in this, we have a dedicated compute and storage. But when we talk about DTU based model, it doesn't have a dedicated compute. Rather, it's a mix and match of CPU, memory, and IOPS. So in the basic model, we can have a maximum database size as a 4.88 GB, and we get 50 to 1600 DTUs. In standard model, we can have 550 to 3000 DTUs, and the data size can be from database size can be from 50 to 500 GB. And in the premium model, we can have a 125 to 4000 DTUs, and the data size can be from 50 to 1024 GB, that is 1 TB. So basically we use Elastic Pools when we have multiple database and the utilization is not up to mark. So to save the money, we can club the databases together in a single pool so that they can utilize the common compute resources. So I am not going to use any Elastic Pool. Rather, I will scroll it down, click on Next, Networking. I will select public endpoint. I will allow Azure service and resource to access this server. Yes. Add the current client IP address. It will automatically take and add it. Now I need to click on Next. Microsoft Defender service, not now. Next. Next. Click on Next and click on Create. Deployment has been initiated. We need to wait for some time. Meanwhile, what I can do, I will create a virtual machine. Alright, so to create a virtual machine, let's go over here on the virtual machine. Click on Create Virtual Machine. We will give the name of the virtual machine as GRM Auto SQL Server. I will use this pay as you go subscription. The resource group will be TC underscore East underscore USA. This would be the name. And image I have selected as free license SQL Server 2016 SP2 Express. And by selecting this, I'm getting the size of the VM as 2 vCPU and 8 GB memory. Now let's give the username and password for this virtual machine. Port number 3389 is open. That is fine. Click on Next. I'm going to use standard hard disk drive. Click on Next. Here I will create new network for this VM. And I will give it a different name. IP address range is correct. Now let me change the subnet name as. So subnet name is now fine. Click on OK. Now click on Next. Click on next, next, change it to public, click on next, review plus create. Now we will click on create. Let's go to home once again, and let's go to SQL databases. All right, so both the deployments are in progress. We need to wait for some time. Why we are creating this VM is to access this SQL database, which is a part of platform as a service. We need to connect it. So to connect it, we need a virtual machine, and that virtual machine should have SQL Server Management Console installed on it, through which we can connect it. So guys, give me some time, and we need to wait for this deployment to complete. All right, so this SQL database deployment is complete. We can see from here, this is complete. All right, guys, so the deployment is complete. Let's go to the resource. So let's try to log in into this virtual machine. Click on yes. Let me open SQL Server Management Studio. All right. So this virtual machine itself has SQL Server installed on it. So let me first connect to this SQL Server only. Okay. Now what I will do, I will connect with the Azure SQL Database. So to connect with Azure SQL Database, let's go to SQL Databases and I will click here. Now this is the server name. Let's connect to this. I have copied it from here and I will mention it the name as this, and we will select the authentication method as SQL Server Authentication, and the password is tcadmin, and this and the password is soham at 3202123. Now let me click on connect. All right, so we are connected with this SQL database. Let's see over here. This is the database that we have created. So we have learned today that how to connect with the Azure SQL database. Now what I will do, I will create one SQL Server database with the name SAP Production in this virtual machine, and then we will export it to the cloud. I need to click the database in the local server, and then I will move it to the cloud one. Let's see who are the owners. I will give ownership to tcadmin. Click on OK. Click on OK. Let's wait for some time. Alright, so this database has been created on the local server. Now I will export it to the cloud. I'm not going to create any kind of a table. Click on tasks, then click on deploy database to Microsoft Azure SQL Database. Click on next. Click on connect. Now I need to provide the password of the Cloud SQL Azure database. Click on connect. Click on next. Click on finish. Let's wait for some time. Now we are exporting this SAP production database to this. It will be here in this cloud Azure SQL database. However, this is for a demo purpose, so I haven't created any kind of other things like table. All right, so the operation is complete. Let's click on close, and all the results are successful. So see, this was a SAP production database in our local machine, and we have, the machine that is on Azure, and we have exported from this virtual machine to Azure SQL Database here. Now we will discuss about replication and failover. Let's say I have a SAP production database in TC underscore East underscore USA resource group, and it is a part of East US region. Now I want to configure a replication and failover between these databases, because in case if there is any issue on this region, so that immediately I can fail over my database to central US instead of East US. And that was the reason I have in the initially I have created another resource group with the name TC underscore central underscore USA. So what I need to do is I will again now create another SQL database that will be in central US, and I will give the SQL server name as GRM Auto Database Motors hyphen Central US Server. And once this Azure SQL database will be configured in Central US, then we will configure the failover and the application. Let's go to the SQL databases once again and click on Create. Select Pay as you go. I will select the resource group as TC Central USA, and we will give the name of the database as SAP test, and we will create a new server. We will give it a name as GRM Auto Database Motors hyphen Central US Server. And we will select the region for this as Central US, and I will give the username as TC admin, and we will provide the password from here. Click on OK. Now click on Next. Click on Next. Again, I would not want to select Microsoft Defender for SQL, so I will click on Not Now. Again, click on Next. Click on Next, Review plus Create, and click on Create. Alright, so the deployment is in progress. Let's wait for some time. Alright, so the deployment is complete. Let's go to the resource. So we have a database with the name SAP test on this SQL server, which is in Central US. Alright, let me go back to the SQL databases once again, and let me go to this East US one. Now I will create the replica. Click on Create Replica. We already have the correct server selected, which is Central US, and click on Review plus Create and click on Create. So if we see from here, in Central USA, this is the primary database SAP production, and in this region, Central US, we have the secondary one. Now let's wait for this deployment to finish. Alright, the deployment is complete. Let's go to the resource once again. Let's click on this replica. Alright, so what we see here, this SAP production database, which was primarily on East US server, is online, and it has a readable copy on the SQL Server with the name GRM Auto Database Motors Central US Server, which is in Central US region. Now let's configure the failover. So to configure the failover, let's go to the server and we will click on failover groups. Click on add group, and now I will give name of this replica of this failover group as this. The name is TC East to Central US SQL Database App Production Database. Now I will select the server as Central US server, and I will select the failover policy as manual, and then we need to click on configure database, and I will select this database as SAP production and click on select, and I will click on create. Deployment is initialized. Let's wait for some time. Alright, so the deployment has been successful. Let's click on refresh. Now click on here. Now what we see here, in the East US region, we have the database as SAP production, and it is primary, and this Central US location is secondary. Let's do a failover over here. Click on failover, and then we will click on yes. So what will happen? Now this secondary region will become primary, and this primary region will become secondary. So let's click on yes. Alright, so now the Central US region has become the primary and the East US region has become the secondary. Now let's go to the database once again. Click on replica, and what we saw here is now the SAP production database in Central US region has become the primary. It is online, and the SAP production database in the East US region has become the readable. Alright, now let me go back to the failover once again. And now let me revert the changes. I will again make the East US server as the primary one and the Central US server as a secondary database server. Click on yes. Alright, now the East US server has become the primary and the Central US is now secondary as it was before. Alright, so let me uh, delete this failover. Let me go to the SAP production server in East US. Now to delete the failover, let me click on delete. Click on yes. Now let me remove the replica as well. Click on yes. Alright guys, so the application has been removed. Now let's go to the another practical. So now we already have these SAP production databases in East US as well and in Central US as well. So what I am going to do is we will now sync the databases from one region to another one. But before I do that, let me create some table on this SAP production database which is in East US. So I am going to create two tables with the name students and one will be the with the name employee IT. So I already have some commands over here I have written. Now let me create one table in SAP production database in East US. So to do that, let me go over here and I will click on new query. So in this table, student, I will create roll number, name and phone number, and this roll number will be the primary key. If we have to sync the database basis, then we need to have one primary key. Let's select it over here and click on execute. Alright, so the table has been created. Now let's add some entries in this table. Let's run this command to see whether the table has been created. Let's reconfirm it. Alright. So a table has been created with roll number, name and phone. Now what I am going to do is let me add these three records into this table. So I will select it. These are the three queries I have created and I will click on execute. Now the queries are successful. Let's see whatever we have inserted has come or not. All right. So we already have these records created in our database. All right. Now let me create another table with the name employee ID. Now this table is for IT employees. Let me quickly create this table. In this table, we are going to create employee IDs, name, designations, and salary, and this employee ID will be the primary key. Let's click on execute. So the SQL table has been created with the name employee ID, and now let's run some commands. All right. So the table has been created. Now let me add some records. I will add 3 records. Click on execute. So the records have been added. Let's execute once again to see if they have come or not. All right. So the records have been created. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sync this tables, student table, which is in the SAP production database in East US. We will sync it with the we will sync this table with the name student with the database SAP production, which is in Central US. So to do that, we need to make this database as hubwin, and this one will become member. Now we need to click on sync to other databases, and we need to click on new sync group. So we need to provide some name to this sync group. We will give it a name as SAP production group. It should be sync group name. So we will give the name of the sync group as and then we will select the database as SAP production, and we will make it a hubwin. I'm not going to use this private link because I am doing all this thing for demo purposes. So I will click on OK and we'll proceed further. Now we need to wait for some time. All right, so this SAP production, this sync group has been created. Now let's click on it. Now we will click on databases. Okay, now I'm going to add this database as a member bin, so that if whenever I will make changes in this SAP in this student database, and when I will click on the sync button, it will sync the database employee student database in SAP production after that. Just give me 1 second. But before I do that, let me create the same tables in central US location as well. To do that, let me click on new query and let me create the same tables that we have created in East US region in the central US one. So to do that, let me copy paste it. I'm creating the table with the name students over here. Let me click on execute. Now select start from students to see. Now let me add the 3 records as we did before in the other database in East US. Click on execute already. So this is added. Now let me quickly create one more table. So the table with the name employee IT has been created. Let's click on execute and see. Yes, it is done. Let me add 3 records. This is also done. Let me click on select. All right, so records are there. Okay. Now I will add another database as a member bin. To do that, let me give the same name, and here I will select the central US server, and the database will be SAP production that needs to be synced, and sync direction I want from the hub. The username I will give it as, now I'm not using private link, so I will click on OK because I'm using it for a demo purpose. Let's wait for this to complete. It will reflect 2 databases once this configuration will be complete. Okay. All right. We can see now that we have 2 databases configured for the synchronization. Now I will click on tables and let me select this table SAP production. First I will select the database and then I will select the table. Wait for some time and it will reflect then. Let me click on refresh schema. Alright, so both the tables have come, but I am just selecting. Okay, let me select both of them and let me click on save. Now it will show the tables as well. It will show the table count as 2. Alright, so now let me click on refresh. It is success. Let me go back over here. So in the East US, what I'm going to do now here, let me add 1 record. this will be the fourth one record I am going to add in student database. I will click on execute. All right, again click on execute. So this record has come here. Now if I see this same database, SAP production database and if I see the table student, it will not be, the fourth record has not come. So let me sync this table. This table students, which is in East US, with the table students in Central US. So to do that, let me go over here and I will click on sync. All right, let's click on refresh. We need to give it some time. Okay, so see here, error has come. It means it is not synced. Let's see. All right, see, it has not synced. Let's make it true. Okay, and let's go over here, properties. This is true. Okay, click on OK. All right. So let me sync the database once again and let's see. All right, so this one is for Central US server. Let me click on execute and see whether the fourth record has been updated or not. Yes, now it has been updated. Great. Now let me add this another record as well. Let me add this fifth record and click on execute. All right. So now what I see here, that the records up to 4 are updated. Now recently we have added this record over here. Now let's synchronize the databases once again. Let's click on refresh and we will see that now error will not come. Let's click on refresh. Again, it is success. It means the student table in SAP production database in central US has been updated. Now let's see over here. Execute. Now this is updating. Good. So now let me delete this synchronization group. And what I'm going to do now next is I will try to sync East US, this SAP production database in East US location from my on-premises setup. And if I will have a machine with the name SQL Server here, and it is joined with the domain controller webshot.ml. What I'm going to do now is I will create a SQL Server in this SQL Server VM, and it is in my on-premises. After that, what I'm gonna do is I will install SQL as your data sync agent. And once I will install that, then what I'm going to do is I will I will make the changes here in the SAP production database, and then once I will press the sync button, the changes will reflect in on-premises VM. So let's see. But before I do that, let me quickly, delete the tables that we have recently created, and this SAP database as your SQL database as well. So I'm now going to delete both of these databases. I do not require them now. But before I do that, let me remove this database from here. Let me disconnect it. And I'm going to delete these databases now. All right. Now let me delete these two tables. All right. So both the databases have been deleted. Now let me create quickly again tables with the name student. Now let me quickly enter two records in this database. Sorry, in this table, students. Let me check this table once again. All right. So records have been added. So guys, this is my on-premises VMs. This is my domain controller. And this is my on-premises SQL Server. This is a member server and it doesn't have SQL installed on it. So let me quickly install SQL on this server. In this VM, I already have .NET 3.5. Click on installation. I am going to fresh install. Click on run. Click on next. Click on accept the license terms. Click on next. I will click on next. Click on next. Alright, so Windows Firewall is on. I need to make it off. Now let me rerun. I think we forgot to stop this public network firewall. Alright, let me click on rerun. Okay, so I will do the SQL Server feature installations. Click on next. All right, I'm going to add these features: analysis service, reporting service, client tools connectivity. Click on next. I will give the name as instance as MS SQL. It's fine. Click on next. Here I will give the account as administrator. I am writing the credentials for my main admin. Now click on collation is a kind of schema. We can change it later as well, but I will not touch it. Click on next. Now I will add the current user as well as I will give the password as soham@202123. Click on next. Let me see the data directories. Add current user. Data directories are fine. Install and configure. Click on next. Click on install. So guys, we need to wait for some time till the SQL Server is not installed. So guys, I will be back once this installation will be finished. As of now, I am resuming this video. Alright guys, so SQL Server has been installed. Now let's click on close. Now let's open the SQL Server Management Console. Click on connect. Now if we see the databases, we do not have any database. So let me quickly create one database with the name SAP Production. Let me add the owners. Now let's click on OK. Alright, so SAP Production database has been created. Now let me quickly create some table. Okay, I will create just one table with the name students. So let's execute this command. Okay, now let me add. Let me add two records over here. Let's verify. Okay, so data has been inserted. Now what I'm going to do here is, let me go to the sync option once again. Click on new sync group. I will give the name of the sync group as SAP Production Group. Use existing database as SAP Production Server, and conflict resolution I would like it to make as hub-when. I'm not going to use private link. Click on OK. All right. Now click on this and we can see that we have a database. Now click on databases once. And now instead of using add an Azure database, I will be using this option, add an on-premises database. So let's click on it. Okay. I need to click on this option, choose the sync agent gateway. Click create a new agent. I have already downloaded this sync agent and I have kept it in my C drive of the on-premises VM. Here it is already there. All right, now we have given it name as SQL Azure Data Sync Agent. Now let's click on create and generate the keys. Right, so the key has been generated. Let me copy it and paste it somewhere over here. Now click on OK. Now what I need to do here is I need to go to my VM on premises and need to install this SQL Data Sync agent. Click on next. I agree. Next. And account, I will be using my admin account. Click on next. 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 And SQL Data Sync agent has been installed. Let's open it. Now I will paste the keys over here. Login credential will be tc admin. Password will be soham@202123. Now let's click on test connection. So the connection is successful. Click on OK. Now let's click on register. I will use this Windows, and in the SQL server I will provide the SQL server name. Say production is my database. Now click on test connection. Click on save. Alright. So connection has been established. Now let's go back over here, and let's click on select database. We can give it a name as sync member. On-premises database is this one, SQL Server and share production. And we will choose the sync direction as from the hub. So my hub is the East US server, and click on OK. Now click on OK. It is adding the sync member. Just wait for some time. All right. Now we have two databases. Now let's configure the table. All right. Let's click on sync member and click over here and click on save. Click on OK. Now let me add one record here. Let's see. Okay, so row number third has been added. Now let's add one more record. Click on execute. Now I haven't done the syncing. Let me go once again on my server and let me execute this command. All right, let me go over here and write user ID and password once again. Let me click on refresh and let's click on sync once again. Let's run the command once again. All right, see, all the records have come here. All right. Now let's add one more record. Let's again run this query. So fifth record has been added. Let me run this command. See, as of now, this record has not been added in my on-premises database. To do that, let me run the sync command once again. Let's sync it. It is success. Let me go to my on-premises VM. So the fifth record. So now fifth record has also come. Okay. So guys, this was this small concept related to database sync. Now let me delete it. All right. In the next slide, we will see how we can take a backup of the Azure SQL database. So to do that, let me go back to the Azure portal. And this time, I need to create one storage account. Click on create. I will create it in this resource group. I will give a name to the account as and it will be a simple account, standard. Click on next, 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 next. Validation is passed. Click on create. Click on go to resource. Now the storage account has been created. Click on blob services. Click on container. Now I will create a container name as GRM Auto SQL Server DB Backup Container. Click on create. Alright, so this has been created. Now I will go to home, SQL Databases, select this database, SAP1, and I will click on export. Then I need to mention the file name has come automatically. I need to select the storage. So to storage, I will select this one, and this would be the container. Now click on select. I need to provide the password for this database. Now click on OK. You can see the activity logs from here. Let's go back to the storage account. What we have observed that we have got one file, and this is for the database backup. We can export this file to our on-premise setup and vice versa. So guys, this was my knowledge that I have shared with you, and thanks for watching my videos. If you like it, please press the like button and subscribe button if you want to subscribe my channel for the new videos. Thank you.